Detroit Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson called the Week 11 matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles a must-win game. And Dan Campbell said that every game was important. He wouldn't quite put must-win on this game because that's just not his style. But he knows, just like Hutch said, it is a must-win game. This is the second biggest game of the Detroit Lions 2025 season. Put in the comments below, what was the first game? The first biggest game of the Lions season. It was that Week 2 matchup against the then 0-1 Chicago Bears. The loser of that game dropped to 0-2, and at that point had a 10% chance to make the playoffs. So Hutch was right. And I remember a lot of folks in the comment section when we went to go play the Chiefs, a game that y'all want to blame me for, like our other 2 losses this season, that you didn't care or we could, quote, afford to lose this game. In the NFL, there is no such thing. Every single game is important. Here's the perfect example. The Detroit Lions were 14-2 last season, heading into Week 18, as were the Minnesota Vikings. They wind up battling this for this first seed. The winner went to 15-2, was the first seed in the NFC. The loser dropped all the way to the 5th seed and had to start the playoffs on the road. It was the first time ever that a 14-win team was a playoff wildcard team. So that should throw out all logic that you can afford to lose one game. We literally could not even afford to lose the last game of the season. That's how tough everything was. And for the Chicago Bears, they are currently sitting in 6th in the NFC, but I think that they're going to be pushed out by the San Francisco 49ers. I think that it's going to be 3 teams. One conference is going to get, one division in the NFC is going to get 3 teams. I think that's going to be the West with the Seattle Seahawks, the Los Angeles Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers. I think the NFC North, which is our division, is going to get obviously the division winner and then another team, and I think that's going to be the Green Bay Packers. And I think you're going to have one team come from the East and one team, per usual, come from the South. But this game is huge, and it's bigger for the Detroit Lions than it is for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's take a look at the current playoff standings from NFL.com. And, of course, this is what the standings would look like if the season ended today with the Philadelphia Eagles. If you can see here, first of all, I absolutely love this time of year. If you have been following me since we started Lions Syndicate 4 years ago, you know that I love from Week 11 forward. The trade deadline is like the pinnacle of the beginning of the season and before that. And then after the trade deadline, which is Week 9, you go into Week 10, you're kind of riding that high from the NFL trade deadline if your team was one to make a move. I'm looking at you, Philadelphia Eagles. But after that, then you are transitioning into the playoff race. And that's why the ESPN playoff machine drops every Wednesday, Week 11. So you guys know I love this time. Back in 4 years ago, back in that 2022, so 3 years ago, 2022 NFL season, I was probably, and this is not even me being narcissistic. I'm not really a narcissistic guy. I know it sounds like it, but I'm not. I was probably the only YouTuber. And you guys may remember this. When the Detroit Lions was 1-6, I was the only Detroit Lion YouTuber that were still talking about playoffs. And I was showing, you can actually go watch those videos now. I was showing you using said playoff machine, how the Detroit Lions could do it. And we came basically a tiebreaker away, which is half a game away from making the playoffs. And I think I earned a lot of y'all respect back then. You think I'm so negative and doom and gloom. I'm really not. The Lions were 1-6, and I was talking about playoffs while everybody else was talking about the draft. But if we look here and we look at the Philadelphia Eagles currently have a 99% chance to make the playoffs. If they win tomorrow, they have a greater than 99% chance. It's all but guaranteed. They would have to have an epic collapse over the last 7 games of the season to miss the playoffs. The worst that they could be at that point would be what? If they lost every game would be 8-9, which is probably not going to happen. But if they lose, they still have a 98% chance to make the playoffs. Now, again, I said that this is a much bigger game for the Detroit Lions in more ways than one. Let's go down to the Lions here. If the Lions lose this game, currently they sit at an 84%. If they lose this game, they're playoff probability drops to a 79%, which is only a 5% drop. A win tomorrow bumps it up to 92%. But notice the difference between the 98% 98% Eagles with a win, greater than 99, or let me start over. A 98% chance if they lose to the Detroit Lions, 79% chance if they lose. And I'm already doing the math in my head. That's why I'm messing up. So you're talking about a 19% difference with a loss. The Eagles still have a 98% chance to make the playoffs. The Detroit Lions at this point with a loss would have a 79% chance to make the playoffs. Why is that? Why is that? Why is this game the second biggest game of the year? And why is the percentage so different? Well, because in all honesty, the Philadelphia Eagles they are in the NFC East. You've got the Commanders who are 3-7. You have the Dallas Cowboys who only have 3 wins. And then you have the New York Giants that are abysmal. So they're sitting in a class all by themselves that even with the loss and everything but a colossal implosion, they're going to make the playoffs. Only one team from that division, along with the South, is going to make the playoffs. The competitive divisions are the NFC West and the NFC North, probably the 2 best divisions in football. So that's why that a win for the Detroit Lions is much more important than it is for the Philadelphia Eagles, because our division right now is jam-packed. Even with the Minnesota Vikings being 5-4, I believe they are, they still have a chance to win this game. So the winner of tomorrow's game between the Detroit Lions and Philadelphia Eagles will own the tiebreaker if they wind up with the same record. Remember back in 2022, that tiebreaker against the Seattle Seahawks meant that we needed the Baker Mayfield LA Rams to upset the Seattle Seahawks. And then we would have had to go in and beat the Green Bay Packers for the winner of that game to get in. So we wind up doing our part. We won our game, sent Aaron Rodgers home. He's never been in the NFC again. We did that. We did our part. We just didn't do it early in the season when we lost. I think that was an overtime game, if I'm not mistaken, that might have been the 2023 year. But that's when we couldn't get over the hump with the Seattle Seahawks. So it's very important for the Lions to win this game, because not only will that give them the tiebreaker over the Eagles if they wind up with the same record, but it will also, the Eagles they're pretty much a shoo-in to make the playoffs. So it'll give us more ground in the North as well. If we finish looking at the playoff current standings, you have, and we'll look at the matchups in a second, but the Lions with the 3rd spot. Now I'm going to be real. I'm not really tripping on that 1st seed, because the 1st seed, we went home. I would love to get it again, to see what it feels like to actually have a chance this time to have the 1st seed. You got another week for people to get healthy, and then you have a free game to the Super Bowl. Instead of winning 3 to get there, you only got to win 2. The NFC Championship game is at Ford Field, and you cannot make it any easier than that. So I would like to see that legitimately done this time. So, but if we don't and we stick at number 3, I'm not going to be mad at that, because when we went to the NFC Championship game, we were the number 3 seed, which is crazy, because now the team that we face is currently not in the playoffs. The team that we would have faced in the Super Bowl. So you can see now that the winner of the Rams Seahawks game will lead the division. The other person will drop down to the 5th seed. Then you have the Chicago Bears, and then you have the Green Bay Packers. But then just outside, you've got the San Francisco 49ers, and then you have the Minnesota Vikings. I can't believe, look at the Panthers, man, sandwiched in between these 2 teams. They actually were 5-4 before week 10, which is something you haven't seen in years. So that's why it is more important, and you can see here from the Cowboys, look how bad this is. They're currently a 5% chance to make the playoffs. And if they lose, a 2% chance. If they win, a 7% chance. Okay, so the Lions need it much more than the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's why we're going to do our watch parties beginning tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to do the Chicago Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings. Because if the Bears win that game, the Lions to stay ahead of them, not only in first place in the division, but to stay ahead of them record-wise because of that tiebreaker in week 2, which is why that also was right now the most important game. We will stay ahead of them. If we lose that game and the Bears win that game, then they will jump us. If they lose, then we can afford to lose. I'll use the quotation marks for this example, right? We can afford to lose. But you know, guys, how I feel about winning games. But let's have some fun. And let's look at what the current playoff picture would be. And I'll give you my take on how I think this thing is going to play out again. I already basically told you, but this is the current. Nope, we're going to clear this because I had already done the playoff prediction. All right, so the week for week 11. Right now, this is as it stands. The Philadelphia Eagles are the first seed. We saw that right now. The Green Bay Packers are the 7th seed. They would go on the road to play the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks would win that game. You have the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions. I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions. And then you have the LA Rams taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would take the Rams to win that game. I think that the 6th and 7th seeds are the ones that's really going to change. I could see most likely, in my opinion, that the 6th seed will be replaced by a NFC West team. It's my guess is that it will be the 49ers, but they still have to play each other quite a bit. This is the first time that the Rams and Seahawks will face each other. So the winner of tomorrow's game will have the leg up. And if they win again against that team, they will have an even bigger leg up. So, but I think that the NFC West is going to be the 6th seed, somebody from there. So I think the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers are going to be in the 6th seed. Now, here's the cool part. If Green Bay was to hang around in 2023, remember I brought up the NFC Championship game in 2023. If the Green Bay Packers stay 7 and the Seattle Seahawks or whoever takes the 2nd seed, all right, unless it's us, because if it's us, it wouldn't matter at that point. When in 2023, the 7th seed Green Bay Packers went to the 2nd seed Dallas Cowboys and beat them, which sent them to San Francisco. San Francisco had the number 1 seed. We wind up beating the 6th-seeded Rams in the 2023 wild card. We then hosted the 4th seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They came to Ford Field. We won that game, and then we traveled to San Francisco in a game that we won't forget anytime soon. Now, had the Green Bay Packers beat the San Francisco 49ers, then they would have traveled to us for the NFC Championship game. What a year that was, man. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. So how I think this would go right now, the Seattle Seahawks would win, although they could be upset. You never know. We would beat whatever 6 seed team is in here. I think the Rams would then beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With that being the case, the Rams would travel to play the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we would then we would have to go to Seattle and play them, and that would be a game. There would be a way for the Detroit Lions to host the NFC Championship game. If you take the first round and say that it goes like I predict, I think that the Green Bay Packers are going to lose to the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to beat the 6th seed. The Rams are going to beat the 4th seed. The Rams would then travel to Philadelphia. For us to host the NFC Championship game, we would have to beat the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams would have to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and they almost did it last year. And then the number 5 seed will come to the number 3 seed for the NFC Championship game in a rematch between Stafford and Goff to go to the Super Bowl. Oh, boy. Haven't really been big on the narrative train this year. I haven't really been big. I've only mentioned it one time, and that was after our loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But I will tell you, don't put that narrative, don't put it out, man. I just kind of came up with that right now. Had not thought about it before that because we're still a little ways away. I'll start talking narrative as we get closer to that final month of the season. But that's what's at stake. And again, this is just early stuff. We like to have fun with it. Things are going to change. Teams are going to go off. You could have an implosion. One of these teams could fall off a cliff. But you know what? I think that this is pretty much going to be the playoff picture. The only difference that I see, like I said earlier, is I could see, of course, the 6th seed and the 7th seed probably changing. I think Tampa is going to be a solid 4 seed as they usually are. The South sucks, but I can see the 7th and 6th seed changing depending on what NFC West team comes into the playoffs. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What division, either the NFC North or West, do you think is going to have a third playoff team? And what would you like to see? What path would you like to see? I think the most exciting path, I think what we want is that 1st seed, because you get a free game to the Super Bowl. You take the 7th, the lowest seed. So in that case, we would look probably for, I mean, if the playoffs, if it stayed like this, or let's say it ended just like this, and we're right where we are, I mean, and you're talking about who would win this game, right? So let's say we're the 1st seed, and we're the 1st seed, and we would play the lower seed, right? So if the home teams won, we would play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the away teams won, which rarely happens in the wild card round, then we would host the LA Rams in the 2nd round. And then at that point, I mean, we would host the Green Bay Packers. We would host the Green Bay Packers, and then we would take whoever's left at that point. So I don't know, man. To me, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because when we were the 3rd seed, no bye. We were really, really healthy that year. We just needed a pass rusher. That's it. Somebody opposite Aiden. Anyway, you can still, it's still hard for me to handle. If we would have done that, then, you know, like we were watching that game, man. We were watching the Packers play the 49ers, and we really thought they had a chance to pull that off. And then they would have came to Detroit we would have had the 7th seed versus the 3 seed. And I don't know. I don't think a number 7 seed, because it's only been around for about 5 years. They've never been to a Super Bowl yet. So that would have been something. But let me know, what path would you like the Detroit Lions to take? I don't know, man. We had the 3 seed. We go to the NFC Championship game, but we're healthy. We have the 1 seed. We have the week off. We're totally depleted, and we get bounced. For me, I don't know, man. I'm feeling, as much as I would love the overpriced tickets at Ford Field and to host the NFC Championship game, we can have a 3rd seed play that wild card game and still get a chance to host the NFC Championship game. So for me, it really, I don't know, man. I'm kind of leaning to just, you know what, 3rd seed, you see what happened before, and I wouldn't be mad. I think I'd be more nervous with a 1 seed, because the expectations are so high. You know what I mean? But we shall see. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. The text line, if you are listening, you're still here. As a matter of fact, this channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. The text line, to call or text, to have your voicemail brought in, or the text line, have your text potentially read in a video, is 313-536-0544. I don't have a graphic yet, so that's why you got to be listening. You got to be listening. All right, 313-536-0544. You can call or text that number in, and when I have the segment, we'll bring in some the name of the hotline right now. Let me know what y'all think about this. Somebody put it in the live stream, was Syndatex. the Syndatex hotline. I mean, I get it, right? You get it? Syndatex, as in, so we spelled syndicate, Syndatex. You know, it's working. It's a work in progress. All right, I'm walking here. So let me know what you think. Put your best name for the hotline. Right now, it's called the Lions Syndicate Fan Hotline, but we also have Syndatex hotline. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. I'll see you tomorrow at 1 so we can do this Bears watch party, man. This is the most wonderful time of the year.